Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm so happy that you guys are enjoying the 026 footage that I'm putting up on the channel. This is probably one of the most common saws around, and so many of you chimed in and said, hey, I have one of those, or I have two of them, or I have one that's blown up and I'd like to rebuild it. So this is going to be a fun series, I think, for all of us. Brings me back to my beginnings of saw wrenching and just brings me back to, before I had the channel. This is literally the first bottom end I ever rebuilt was one of these. So today's video, I'm going to take this saw and break down the rest of it. I did kind of a step-by-step of breaking the saw down to this point, and I'm going to really take my time and show you guys the ins and the outs of breaking a saw like this down. What we need for today's video is one of these, a case splitter. Now, I know you can do it without a case splitter. I had a couple people mention they use heat and a hammer and all kinds of other things. I prefer to do it this way because you never damage anything. So you can buy these online for like 50 bucks. This is an aftermarket one. I've done a bazillion saws with it, and it's been kicking for a long, long time. Okay, I'll bring you guys in a little bit closer, and let's start tearing this thing down, and let's have a look at it. Now, two things. If you're going to pull the top end off and the saw is filthy like this one is, now I don't really care because this saw is going to go and have a bath. But if your saw is like this, clean it off real good, because what will end up happening is you'll get all this stuff in the bottom end. Okay, first things first, I'm going to take the clamp off for the intake boot. Pop the intake boot off. I'm going to do this a little bit more. So you guys can see here what's going on. Okay, we're going to take the intake boot off. I think I'm going to zoom you guys in a little bit. There we go. Okay, and we'll pop the intake boot off. We're going to have a look at this intake boot either later in this video or in a later video, it's depending on how long this takes. Okay, now that that's all off, a bunch of you are asking about the oil pump on this saw. It is OEM. Some of these came with non-adjustable oil pumps. Some of them came with fully adjustable oil pumps. I'm pretty sure the early saws, like this one did not come with the adjustable oil pump. So, okay, first things first, I'm gonna take the top end off. 4 bolts. I wonder what this top end's gonna look like. Okay. 1, 2. I don't think this saw's ever been apart. Sorry, I bumped you guys there. It's definitely looks like complete OEM. And after I get this apart and I look at it, now I already ordered all the wear parts, everything that I know needs to be changed on one of these I ordered, so I don't mess around. If I'm going to take a saw down, it's getting bearings, seals, gasket, new lines, rebuild the carb kit. It's a small amount to pay versus time. If you have a lot of time, I guess, yeah, you can take a risk, but for me, I would rather just do it all. Okay, slide that off. Dump these screws out. 2, 3, 4. Interesting. We'll talk about that later. Okay, well, let's, since we're here, see if I can get this circlip out. I'm going to have to look at my parts stash. I think I have a fully adjustable oil pump for this saw somewhere. Okay, just going to see if I can hook this in here. Need to get something pointier. There, I brought you guys in a little closer. See if I can do this on camera. Sometimes it's hard because remember the camera's in between you and me. Sometimes these circlips can be a real bear to get out. I'm gonna find something else. This is actually a clip puller I made years ago. It works good, but I'm not used to working on saws this small. Give me a second. Well, I got it out, and of course it went flying. And that's where we're at. There we go. It can be hard to get them out when they're old because they get all full of carbon. Post below, would you use this piston again? Have a good look at it. I'll turn the light on so you guys can really see. It's up to you guys. Would you reuse this piston again? It's got a few little scratches on it. Post a comment below. I'm always curious to see what you guys are thinking. Okay, now we have to, a wrist pin bearing right here. Looks like brand new. I don't think this saw has a ton of time on it. It may. Okay, now next thing is take out your crankcase bolts. Make sure you get all of them. In my earlier years, I remember I had a saw I couldn't get apart, and there was a kind of a hidden crankcase bolt. I'm glad I didn't keep reefing on it because what would have happened is I would have broke the cases. But hence why I use a puller or a case splitter. If you use a case splitter and it doesn't come apart right away, take a mallet, give the case a little tap, or the end of the crankcase puller a little tap. If it doesn't come loose, then you know you got something going on. Be gentle. These are only magnesium. I'm a little concerned about these cases. I'm gonna have to go into my Stihl parts bin. I got a big bin just full of Stihl junk. I think there's an 026 in there. I really do. If there is, or bits of an 026. If there is, then I may do a case swap on this saw. Hope this helps you guys. Those of you that want to rebuild your saw. Once you learn how to do this stuff, it's life-changing because, so it's game-changing. Because if you can find a deal on a saw, any saw, and it's blown up, or whatever, you think it's going to be blown up, you get a good deal on it, you get to the point where you don't care because, well, you can just order the parts and rebuild it. And the parts are still a good enough price that you can still afford to rebuild these things. Now, this case splitter is on the small side for this saw. This is interesting. I don't ever remember it being that way. Well, we'll see if this works. If not, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't see any more. See? Look at that. This came apart. Oh, this thing's fighting me here. Interesting. Okay, let me get my dead blow. Okay, got my dead blow. This thing's definitely not coming apart straight. The question is why. I feel like I left a screw in there, but I did not. I think it's because these cases are so corroded. Interesting. Give me a second here, folks. Actually, here, let's do it in real time. It's actually good when we have problems, right? So what I'm going to do here now is, if you guys look, the dowel pin is actually stuck in the case. So I'm going to get a hammer. Actually, maybe I can hit it. Give it a little whack from the inside here. There we go. Just like that. The bearing is off the crankshaft, but because this thing is so old and stuck together, it's gonna fight me. It's not a good sign. I have a feeling that these cases are not going to be usable. We'll have to find out. Okay, so you guys see that there? I didn't panic. Sometimes it helps to apply heat to the case. Just making sure that this is level. Okay. See the difference? This is coming apart with ease. So sometimes the lineup dowels get stuck. Oh, this thing's still stuck. Interesting. There we go. I don't think I've ever had one that stuck. Yeah, see, so the lineup dowel was coming out right here. Was coming out with the rest of it. Okay, original gasket in here by the looks of it. Gasket's never been out. Paint looks good in the bottom end. Okay, now the thing that concerned me, you see all of the corrosion there? That could cause an air leak, but it doesn't look like it's that bad. So we may end up running these cases after all. I want to show you these bearings. They look like they're still in good shape. Okay, there we go. Again, I'm just literally just pushing the crankshaft through the bearing. Okay, just like that. What a tiny wee little crankshaft. That's an OEM crankshaft. Notice, no discoloring. Here and here. Everything looks really good. These cases look horrible. Interesting. So this saw has plastic bearing races in it. I'm almost of the mindset that this bottom end's been done. You guys see that? I didn't think they had. I know Stihl uses the plastic bearing races. I'm kind of the mindset that and these, oh yeah, that's good. So if you want to check your seals, I always just replace them when I'm at this point. Check if they're rubbery. These are really soft, pliable. They feel good. Same thing with this one. So I bet you that this thing's had bearings done. I could be wrong. If you know that they have plastic bearing races in this era, I've never seen plastic bearing races in 026, and I've done many of these. These bearings feel like brand new. Let's check this on. You can feel it. If the bearings are crunchy, okay, if the bearings are crunchy, and you'll feel it, you won't be able to do this with it. Right there, you'll know, you'll say, hey, this thing's definitely needs some bearings. So, now the next thing to do, see if I can do it with this. That didn't work. This is what's bothering me about this saw. Everything's stuck in here. I may have to apply. Yeah, this seal is really stuck. I may have to apply some heat to this saw, to this case. There we go. Always be careful when you do that. Ooh, that went flying. Here she is. I know when you first start doing this, you'll probably be like, how do I get that out of there? But now, one thing that makes this a little bit difficult is you have to use, just giving you guys tips and tricks. That bearing is blind in there, meaning, or not blind, the hole goes right through, okay? The shoulder of the bearing is actually set by the oil pump, okay? So if you push this bearing too far through and you try and bolt it all together, it'll bind up. Okay, so a little bit harder to do that with the oil pump. Now, there's a couple things you could do. You could use a micrometer and measure the depth, which I'm probably going to do just for my own notes. And that way when you put the new bearing in, you can just sink it down. Let's have a quick look at the top end. I'm not going to go too far on that today. Looks pretty good, so. But I'm not going to go super far into the top end. I think I'd like to go further into that in the next video. One thing I'm going to do right now, friends, is I'm going to go into my odds and ends. I want to see, into my Stihl bin, I want to see what I have for this saw. Hold on. Okay, let's move this to the side. Ooh, she's a dirty saw. Looking in my junk, I found this. Saw guys, we got bins of parts, right? We all do it. We all hoard parts. And, ooh, that one had a good death. Look at that. So what happens when you let that piston slop for too long? Eventually it starts slopping and it catches a port and breaks. Especially on these little short skirted pistons. Now, is this an 026? Let's have a look here. Because again, friends, it's nothing for me to break this down. I think, yeah, that looks like the exact same case. So, oh, and the AV mounts on this one are better. So yeah, I would say we definitely have an 026 here. Oh, it's too bad though. It's got the plastic oiler. I don't think there's any adjuster in here. Oh well. Guess we'll rock this saw with the oiler it has and see if it works. Looking this way. Well, I would say with 100% certainty this is an 026, or what's left of one. I don't even know where I got this from. I remember last time I dug through there. I don't have a ton of Stihl parts, but I have enough, right? Like a lot of Stihl parts, I'm usually looking for screws and things like that. And I just remember last time I was looking through this saw, oh, right here, type MS260, 49 cc's, it says right here on the handle. So there you guys go. Well, I guess what I'll do, Because again, I'm not going to keep this saw. I'll send it down the road. I'd rather somebody has a saw with a better set of crankcases. And if you look at these, they're nice. Look at the front of them. There's no paint missing even. So these are just junk. So we'll leave them as that. Okay. Well, there you guys go. That was shot in real time, other than me running to... I have two toolboxes. One here, my main toolbox is on the other side. That's why I pause it sometimes. But there you guys go. That's how long it takes to break down a bottom end. It takes about 10-15 minutes. That was worst case scenario. That thing really, really fought me. And interesting. Yeah, I don't think we're going to use these cases. The more I look at them, the more I think they're just not in good enough shape. And it looks like there's corrosion eating a hole through the bottom here too. So right here, I can see a hole coming through. Not the worst thing, but if you have another set of cases, I mean, I've had this junk saw. I've had it so long, friends, I don't even know where it came from. So that's just the way the cookie crumbles. So I will break this saw down. This thing's even dirtier than this one, but I'll break this saw down and scavenge the parts that I need off of it. I see it's got an oil cap. That's the only thing, friends, about this is that this has the old school caps and this doesn't, so it won't be 100% matching. Decisions. Tell you what I'll do, friends, because I am kind of a purist, and this thing's really clean looking when it's together. Once these cases are cleaned, I will do a full inspection of them. Again, I don't see any damage in the motor. You know, the cases here, the damage really is superficial, but we'll have to see. Anyhow, friends, we'll leave it at that. If I think this thing needs a new set of cases, I'll put them in, and if I don't think it does, then I'll leave it as it is. One more thing, you guys see that spot there? That's the oil that was sitting in this thing. This thing sat for a long time. That oil is, that fuel has dried up, and the oil and everything that was in there has gotten hard, and I can barely wipe it off. So that's a sign that this thing was sitting for a long time. So anyhow, I won't ramble on any longer. Hope that helps you guys. And, you know, these are great saws. If you can find one, rebuild it. For 50 cc's, these things are good cutters. I've always liked MS260 026. Thanks for watching. Take her easy. I'll see you in a couple days. Later.